Hey everyone, my name is Lee Chase and I'm with Bamco Belting Products, and we're here today to show you how to put together your QuickFix Hydraulic Hose Repair Kits. Now the only thing you're going to need for these kits is a C-clamp or a vise, a couple of wrenches, a marker. We have a black one here, but we recommend you use white because it shows up on the hose better, and maybe a little bit of lubricant of your choice. Now the first step into putting your hydraulic hose repair kits together is to take your marker and mark your insertion length on the hose. Now this is important because if your coupling is on too loose or too tight, it can blow off, which will result in a very dangerous hose failure for the operator. Once your insertion length is on the hose, you're going to take your coupling and you're going to separate it into its nipple and socket components and set it aside. So the next step in the process is to clamp your hose. Since we're using 3/8 hose, you're going to take your holding die and insert the hose where it's marked 3/8, and you can either insert this whole thing into a vise or take a C-clamp like so and clamp the hose into the die. Now the key to this step is to make sure you leave enough hose outside of the die that you're able to screw on your socket in the next step. To make this next step in the process a little bit easier, you're going to take some lubricant and you're going to lubricate the hose and the inner end of the socket. Once that's done, you're going to take your wrench and you're going to take your socket and you're going to screw the socket on counterclockwise to the hose. But always make sure you leave 1/8 of an inch between the hose and the inner end of the socket. If the socket's screwed on too tight, it can damage the core tube of the hose and result in leakage. At this point, what you're going to do is you're going to take your hose outside of your die holder and your C-clamp, and you're going to grip the socket using one wrench, lubricate your nipple, and tighten it into the socket going clockwise using another wrench. You're going to tighten it all the way down to the hexagonal part touches the socket. But make sure to not over tighten because this will also result in a hydraulic hose failure. The only difference in this if you're using a vise is that you would take this all out and you'd clamp the vise on the socket and you would have no need for a second wrench. You'd only have to use one. Now you're done. Your hydraulic hose repair kit's finished, but we always recommend that you inspect the hose, the coupling, and the insertion mark to make sure that there's no risk of hydraulic hose failure. Now that I have explained how to build one, let's talk about some of the benefits of using thermoplastic hose. This hose is the lightweight, abrasion-resistant industry leader of the future. First off, where rubber hose needs an anti-wear cover, thermoplastic does not. It is naturally abrasion-resistant. Next, where most rubber hose is not ozone-proof, this can have prolonged sunlight exposure without cracking or wear. And lastly, this hose is kink-proof and generally has a higher radius of bend than most rubber hoses. With all that being said, I appreciate your time and we hope to hear from you soon.